What's going on, Banana Squad? This is Professor Crypto Banana, and I am going down the rabbit hole of art NFTs. That's right. Typically, I know a lot about DeFi. I know a lot about it. Don't worry, I'm not changing it up. I'm still going to focus on that. However, I need a little bit more perspective as to what's going on with art NFTs. We see this all over the place, right? With the Board Ape Yacht Club and all these different places. So on the Phantom side, I decided to rope in TinFoil Realist and also Frankie Wild over here to just give me more perspective as to what's going on. Is it just art NFTs and that's it, and they're overpriced JPEGs? Or is there's another kind of secret world where it's more community based and it's all about the networking and the extra benefits that can come with it? So stay tuned. Let's figure this out. Let's do some quick intros. So TinFoil, tell us more about yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm TinFoilRealist, your favorite conspiracy realist, not theorist. So I got into the crypto space a couple years ago when COVID started. Man, when the world locked down, I went, this can't be good. I started DCAing into Bitcoin. There was a local ATM down the road. Started DCAing in. Got into token trading because you start realizing that, hey, there's these really cheap tokens out there that do similar stuff. Let's try them out. And I found Phantom pretty early in the days. Phantom NFTs started popping up, and I've been like 99% of my portfolio has been in Phantom NFTs for 8 months now.
Dang.
FTM Maxi.
It's crazy.
Love it. Yeah, me, I'm Frankie Wild. I'm just a regular DeFi guy. I onboarded in crypto in 2016, bought a bunch of ETH, just a few, never sold. And fast forward 2021, I started my MetaMask account and bought some FTM on exchange that I bridged over. And yeah, at the end of 2021, and I've been mostly playing in DeFi for the first part, and yeah, took my profits, bought some overpriced JPEGs, and yeah, the I loved it. You know, Tinfoil has been my onboarder, let's say. Um, I started seeing a lot on Twitter and promoting great projects, some blue chips, some new projects, et cetera, and trying to find my place, trying to experiment with minting my NFTs, which is something I'm sure we'll go over. It's not just buying an NFT off the market; it's like creating it, being part of that Genesis event that creates the NFT and puts it out on the blockchain.
Mm.
And yeah, and the rest is history. I'm just one of one of these many participants in the community, and I love it.
So I like this because Tinfoil, you're like more of the expert, especially when it comes to the NFTs on the Phantom side. And Frankie, you're giving that perspective of kind of the newbie, how to like create the NFTs, how to do everything and see it. So got different levels of expertise, and I love this. So I'm glad that you guys came on the show. So the next question that I have that I think is on a lot of people's minds is it's an overpriced JPEG. How does this have value? How are people making money? Is it even worth, if you're not into the NFTs, to even look at it from a financial aspect, which everything in this video is not financial advice, but like, because a lot of people are perhaps getting NFTs because they think, man, I could really make a good profit off of this. But is that the right perspective? What value does these NFTs, art NFTs, really bring?
Yeah, so I'll start with this one. For me, there's a lot to this. So I tweeted a long time ago, and it's something that has worked out greatly in my favor. But what I'm doing is I'm storing my wealth in community. The way I look at NFTs is I look at NFTs as like a lifetime membership card that I can kind of trade out of at any point in time. And most of it comes with incredible art. So when I first got into this NFT space, I was doing some consultations, and I'm doing phone calls with some of the people from like traditional finance, stock traders, people who collect traditional art. And I will never forget having a conversation with a guy who had a 4 foot by 4 foot Picasso on his wall behind him. And we're having this conversation, and this guy is just on another level of money, and understands I'm storing wealth in art. These fine assets, as inflation is crazy, so and so. Then he proceeds to make sure to like pick up his webcam and show me his creature, which I don't know if you've ever seen the creatures on Ethereum. It's like a little cartoon guy with his arms up. They look funny as hell.
Uh-huh.
And he is getting so unbelievably emotional at how much he connects with his creature NFT, more so than his 4 foot by 4 foot Picasso. And that all of a sudden that this creature NFT that he's involved with and this community that comes with it, like now there's more benefits being added to this community, whether it's more NFTs, whether it's exclusive access to places. To hear the people from the traditional world get so excited about this NFT space because they understand storing wealth in art is super interesting, because now you're storing wealth in art and attaching that to a decentralized community. So that's
That
where I
grows on
see
its
the
own.
potential. Yeah, that's where I see the potential of NFTs. And Frankie, you just said it perfectly. It grows on itself. This idea that when you have 10,000 people that buy this JPEG and 10,000 people want to see the value of the JPEG go up, how many different skill sets do you have within that 10,000 people that can bring something to the table and to try to build this? So all of a sudden you have these, what I like to call little companies, like literally these NFT communities are becoming small companies, and
So
not even small, where they have more people, technically more employees than a corporation.
oh, that's insane. So let me just try to make sure I understand this and break this down simply. You got different aspects, right? One is the financial side, because the wealthy, the kind of like higher up, they believe in assets, getting assets, and physical art. It's difficult to get there, but once there's that cream of the crop, boom, that's kind of like a store of wealth. So example is after like watches is a good
Yes.
example, right? It doesn't make sense. It clicks around and does something, but some of the wealthy really invest into watches and that goes up, paintings, etc. So there's the financial aspect. Point number two that you're suggesting is the community in and of itself, the network effect. You can't really put a
Yes.
price on somebody that can help you out in a bind where you say, dude, I need this skill set. I don't know, maybe we all have been in a situation where your car breaks down, but you got that one friend that knows how to repair a car. How are you going to put a value on that friendship? But similar to this in the NFTs, you got that whole community. What can be built forward? Go forward. And then finally is the art in and of itself from an emotional aspect as to how you connect with it, how that makes you feel. Can you relate? For example, I'm big into Marvel, and on
Mhm.
my wall, I got some art pieces. They're actually just posters, really, from Spider-Man and Hulk, but I think it ranges from different emotions. And there are certain ones in the posters that I relate to their emotion because I'm like, oh, in this one, Spider-Man's feeling sad, but he's thinking. Means
Mhm.
when you're sad, think. When you're angry, sit down, think. And like for
Mhm.
me, other people come around like, really? I'm like, yeah, that's just how I am. And for example, that whole creatures that you were talking about doesn't make sense. It's like, but makes you feel something. So certain people see it, and that's another aspect. So I got those three main points. Frankie, what are your thoughts on that? Did I get that correctly or no?
I feel like you just, yeah, you knock it out of the park. It's a combination of, um, yeah, the art, the speculation on an artist. You're also banking on the fact that that artist is going to keep building and just be there for for the longest time. Like I'm buying these guys early, right? And that's why I still have not sold a single NFT on Phantom. I'm just holding on to everything that I buy and see value in, because these guys, they're still young. They're still growing with the network. So I, I'm leveraging on leveraging, meaning Phantom is still small. The tech on Phantom is going to increase, allowing it to scale to another magnitude, right? Another level. It's probably going to 10x the network over the next 5 or 10 years. But on top of it, I buy these artists early who keep working. So I buy their first collections. They're gonna have a second collection, et cetera, et cetera. So the amount of people that are gonna join Phantom, they're gonna see that guy, and so the demand is gonna keep growing. And to me, it's this very asymmetrical uh, bet to make. I come from the TradFi. I did full time trader for like 2.5 years before going full time crypto, and it just hit me. At first, I was like, I don't get it. This is absolutely illiquid. Um, I cannot pay my bills or my rent with this the same way I'm doing it with a regular traditional trading.
Mm.
But um, profits doesn't bring me joy. Profits don't make me happy. When I sell, when I get out of a position for a 2x or 3x, I'm proud of myself. I played that right. I can provide for myself and my family for this amount of time, or I provide for my strategy, right? Growing my portfolio. But at the end of the day, it's just numbers. When I buy some mage punks, some duck punks, some World of Uman, when I bought my first ancestral Uman, you, I spent 400 Phantom back then. I was the happiest man alive, and the reality is I have no intention of selling ever. So this money is lost. So do you see how it's completely different and the narrative is completely flipped because I'm not looking for instant gains or gratification. I'm I'm buying art and I'm buying into a community. I'm now part of this community. We're not at the level on Phantom yet where like you have that yacht club, private chat, alpha chat, where all these people are super rich and just like keep each other rich. We're not at that level yet, but I'm just buying for the art. I'm buying a little piece of the Uman DAO, decentralized organization. And yeah, there's value to all of this. And but there's also the speculative value, the game, the NFT game theory, where you mint three, you flip some, blah blah blah. I just don't buy into it. I mean I understand it, I respect it. I just don't do it. I make money from DeFi.
Yeah, I do like the point you brought up. So, I mean, you break it down to uh, art as like an asset, the wealthy storing as an asset,
Yep.
the community, and then art itself. Now, and why we're having this conversation is DeFi is coming into this space now.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
So, like you mentioned in our talk before we went live, that like Byte Masons. So this is a DeFi platform that is doing a token launch, and you got an allocation, like essentially an IDO price based on what NFTs you were holding. And like to me, that's massive because that starts a wave. Already, we're starting to see. So there's a platform called Dark Matter DeFi on Phantom, where there's a lot of NFT staking, where I'm staking NFTs on Dark Matter DeFi and earning the DMD token, which then I'm compound like restaking or farming, like whatever, right? So with Potluck Protocol, like we're looking at doing that now. So you're already starting to see the snowball effect of when does Yearn Finance start doing something with NFTs? Like it starts to get crazy when you really get into this.
Man. Oh, don't get me started right now, Tinfoil. Don't get me started because right now my major focus is financial NFTs. So I've done previous interviews, like for example with Double Sharp, yeah, Justin
Yes,
M. Silver, yeah,
genius.
and he's a genius, and he walked me like step by step, like take a look at how we can do liquid staking. Look at what this can do for the DeFi aspect with using NFT technology, but also how that can be applied to art NFTs. I was just wow. So a lot of people think, okay, art NFTs, it's in its own world. Maybe you're not going to touch it. And then there's DeFi, etc. But I do see the worlds colliding, or not colliding, but kind of synergizing is a better word. There we go. So as you said, with the staking, you wouldn't normally thought about staking, LPing, etc. But there you go. Financial NFTs. What if you don't want to be locked in a position for 4 years, and then you're able to then sell it to somebody else that's willing to take the place? Perhaps it could help out with the fact that sometimes NFTs are illiquid, correct? Because maybe you got a super rare, NFT art piece, but it's hard to sell it because it's higher up. Similar to a Picasso, how many people are going to have cash on hand saying yes, I will pay its market value price on the spot? It takes time to shift that price, but I am very curious to see how DeFi and the NFT space and the art space as well is going to overlap. I think there's something there to it.
No, you're absolutely right.
Definitely.
There is an aspect to this. So like there's stuff going on Ethereum that kind of have this involved where so Looks Rare is a marketplace. And what they did differently from OpenSea, they added a feature where you could essentially put a bid on every floor piece. So instead of me putting a bid on one individual NFT, I can just bid on an entire floor. Now, that starts to become interesting when you start. If I have an NFT project and there are multiple people that have basically already set a floor, and that floor, essentially these offers hold for weeks on end. If I'm a DeFi platform, like I could collateralize loans and stuff. If the floor is essentially set on NFTs, why can I not use those NFTs as collateral for a loan?
Dude, I never even thought about that, but that is a key portion right there. I didn't even
Yeah,
think about it. It'd be similar to, let's say I got a car and I'm willing to borrow money against it, and the bank would be like, "Well, dude, you got a car." I'm like, "Yeah, if I don't come back with the money, sell my car. It's worth money."
yeah,
But that's essentially what you're doing, is you're saying this art piece, look at how many people are willing to scoop it up. Worst case scenario, you can sell and get the money back. So can I get some, can I borrow against it? Which
exactly.
that I never even thought about. That is,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah,
But I think we need to reach a certain level of liquidity. The problem is we're facing on young networks is we're still pretty illiquid. When this can work on ETH. I was talking with Esper about it, like comparing volumes on ETH and Phantom. It was still a baby, and it's hard to on the protocol's point of view, it's hard to take that um, sort of. They're basically being an insurance company when you're lending, borrowing, money market. You're essentially an insurance company, and they can have to. It's a hard bet to take, and it's easier to make when you're on a bigger network that has more volume, in my opinion. But
oh,
we'll get
absolutely.
there.
But to say that, yeah, to say that Phantom isn't going to be there in 5 years, like would be silly.
Yep.
Okay.
Like this
But let
stuff's all
me
for
let me
sure.
ask you this then. So we talk about Ethereum. We know Ethereum, the NFTs are popping there, right? And there's probably different other blockchains that have their NFTs gaining traction. Why would you say that the NFTs on Phantom aren't popping up more, gaining traction? What needs to happen? How do you see it progressing in the future?
So for me, I would almost argue that it's because our DeFi is too good. Because the DeFi ecosystem is just too good on Phantom, it uh, doesn't cause you to want to get away from that. Like some of these protocols are just print. I know anybody that's been involved in Tomb Finance for quite a while, like they are super happy. Um, we have an auction house that has basically been funded by the DeFi profits from Tomb Finance. Uh, it's awesome. So I think because our DeFi is so good, NFTs haven't really popped on Phantom. But there's an aspect to, like, if you look at volume of any NFTs compared to Ethereum, it's nothing. Like NFTs on every other chain is nothing compared to Ethereum. And I honestly think that literally becomes down to the DeFi, because I can't do the same DeFi things on Ethereum that I can on all these other layer ones and these layer twos. So that's why I got into NFTs on Ethereum. But now when you're on these other layer ones where you can do all whatever in DeFi, um, yeah, I think that's what's holding back from people jumping into NFTs. But now that you have Byte Masons and stuff doing things with NFTs, where now I'm operating in DeFi and having an NFT, to the point that Byte Masons, like, you had a benefit to the DeFi protocol if you had NFTs.
Oh yeah.
So now, like, I really see that kind of continuing to play out, and it's been interesting to watch even our dexes. So Spooky Swap, for instance, when I study the Phantom market, when Spooky Swap dropped the Magic Cats NFT, it wasn't like your typical Phantom NFT community that got into that. It was legitimately your DeFi players that know, love, and trust Spooky Swap and said, "Oh, I've heard about this NFT stuff. They're dropping a big collection. I'm gonna get one of these things." And now it is the most traded NFT collection on Phantom.
Right.
So I think that is going to come into effect too, where it's DeFi platforms release NFTs. It's almost like this trusted party that releases NFTs, and then it's DeFi people that just have to essentially. It's almost like once you start making a little bit of money in NFTs, and you realize that there is a potential to make life changing finances, it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go try some stuff over there. And then
So,
I think once you get involved, then you start finding the community, and that's where, like Frank said earlier, profits can get you a level of happiness, but when you add profits with just a sweet community, like that's the ultimate goal.
but let's add in an extra layer that we didn't really discuss, but I think is extremely critical: trust. Right?
Mm.
How important is trust in an NFT community? Because I know from a DeFi perspective, a new project comes out, it's always like, oh my goodness, what is the security? Are you going to rug pull, etc.? I'm assuming that the same thing is for the NFT community. And also, how do you establish trust in it? Because at least with our example here with Spooky Swap, number one decks on Phantom in terms of volume and probably TVL, etc. So by the fact that they released their NFT collection, everybody already had that sense of trust. Like, well, I don't think you're going to screw us over on that aspect, and that was a huge boost. But how does somebody new building up the community? Frankie was talking about new artists. How do they get that traction and trust?
There are like I mean, for now, as Web3 is designed today, most of the trust is earned day by day on Discord servers. So artists live stream their art. Um, they create a structure around them. So meaning people helping them to structure their community tools, whether it's a Twitter account, whether it's community meetings, and stuff like that. Trust is earned every day and can be lost in a second. And that's the hardest part. And especially in this sector, in this industry where we all anonymous, or like most of us are anonymous. Um, so yeah. But I also wanted to jump back to your question that you asked, like, why is Phantom behind, and what do you think it's gonna take for it to catch up?
Yeah.
Yeah, TinFoil, you're totally right. Like, you can't compare anything to Ethereum, whether it's Solana, Cardano, AVAX. Ethereum is way up there, and the reason is because Ethereum is so gassy that you cannot do DeFi. So that's the only thing you can really do successfully. OpenSea allows you to trade with virtually limited amount of gas. They optimize everything, so you only have to make signatures, et cetera, et cetera. So I think these cheap gas not L2s but L1s like AVAX and Phantom, they're gonna have to innovate. They're gonna have to come in with some stuff that you cannot do on ETH because gas is lower, the chain is faster, it's et cetera, for XYZ reason. I'm not a like a dev, but yeah, I think these these chains, these networks are going to start outpacing ETH in terms of growth when we will have actual innovation. And the Byte Masons, financial NFTs, all the subject you're covering over and over on the channel or over these last few weeks, I think this is where it's going to happen. And that's why I feel really comfortable owning Phantom NFTs, because these artists who are on the network, they're going to see the innovation coming from the reliquary, from Justin and his team, and they're going to be like, okay, I can just fork this. You know, I can slap my art on it, uh, give locking value, whether it's an FTM or whatever. I don't know. Artists bootstrap liquidity. Basically, they ask you to mint an NFT, fund the treasury, then we can do so many things with that treasury money, and that's what we're trying to do at Mummy Punks. But Justin is just gonna do it better. He's just gonna find a way to mesh all of his relations from these NFT devs, NFT artists, DeFi devs, and he's gonna create Exodia, right? And we're all gonna watch and learn from it. And that's my bet. That's the good narrative, the bullish narrative for Phantom NFTs, in my opinion. The innovation is gonna come here first, and we're all going to benefit from it.
So let's progress that even further. Is what are some aspects, the innovation that is going to be coming to the Phantom NFTs? We already talked about the financial NFTs, how that can help with, let's say, Curve. People don't want to maybe lock for 4 years. Well, now with FNFTs kind of gives a solution to that. We saw that with Liquid Driver right now. How you can do that is pretty cool. You were mentioning how Byte Masons is doing that with, people always call me out on saying this wrong, Requillery. Did I say that right? So,
Reliquary? I don't know, bro.
whatever it is, yeah. But I think Justin is very unique, and this is why I'm actually starting to put some of my attention towards it. Is with the Byte Masons, when they came out with their token, as TinFoil said, if you held certain NFTs, you got a certain discount on the token, which was like, whoa. And I'm seeing that also for Justin from Byte Masons. He is big onto NFTs and making sure that the space grows. There's also innovation that's happening, but the amount of innovation and the ability that unlocks is quite mind-boggling. And I like the fact that Phantom is in a position where they're just doing that, because I get a lot of feedback saying like, okay, what's on Phantom? What's going on? What about this chain, that chain? But I think the innovation that's coming out of that is very interesting, but it's difficult to capture the exact details as to what will happen. But I think that there's a lot, because as mentioned with my interview with Double Sharp, he was talking to me that you could get like a art NFT, but it could also have access to some special area, and then you could always like sell it off. You could like rent out your NFT, like just all these different combinations. So where am I going with this? Could we speculate as to some of the cool features that could happen with art NFTs and how it overlaps with DeFi? Do you guys got any theories as to how that could play out?
That's what I'm doing. I just there are a lot of smart guys. Funeral, he's gonna find a way to, I don't know, Slothopia. These guys, they're gonna build universes. They're gonna build metaverses, 3D environments where we can just hang out. And now you have innovation. Now you have people FOMOing outside of Phantom, just bridging a little bit to buy their first avatar and stuff like that. That's, that I can only guess. I like Phantom for people like you, Prof, for people like Tinfoil, for cool devs, edgy people who don't really just care just about the money. Because is the fact that the network is smaller and versus ETH, it brings a different crowd. And the people that are still here today, when we're waking up today and Phantom is at 130. If you're still on Phantom, it means you're not just here for the gains. Maybe that's some broke mindset, but people that like Ethereum people will argue that's some broke mindset. But I don't know. Phantom works well. It's just undervalued, and I'll keep saying it until it's not anymore.
Yeah, so for me, when I think of innovation coming to Phantom, there's going to be GameFi is going to be big. So AVAX right now has become a big GameFi chain because you can't do these games. You can't be throwing around assets on Ethereum and those gas prices. So layer ones are going to be massive for GameFi, and we've got some awesome ones popping up that look like they have some money behind them, which is awesome. Now, I mean, it gets endless. Music is coming in so hot. It is not going to be. It's going to be more beneficial to do music through your lower gas chains because it just gives you way more options. You could do smaller song mints. Music, it gets endless. I'm talking to authors now that are coming into the NFT space. There's a really interesting, Pink Flamingos, which is the first multi-chain bridgeable NFT. So it's a project on Phantom. They partnered with Multichain, the AnySwap bridge. So their whole collection, as soon as the bridge goes live, you can bridge Mingos across any like EVM chain. Now, they added this really cool thing, and I think it's an awesome innovation. I'm excited to see where other people take it, but it's a community lore building. So essentially, somebody pays a little bit of Phantom, it's like 2 Phantom, to write a page of the story of the flamingos. Somebody else can go look at that page. They can then pay a couple Phantom to continue the story and write their own page. Now, third person comes in. I see somebody has continued the story. Maybe I don't like that continuation of the story. I want to continue the story from the first page in a different way. So all of a sudden you have this family tree that gets built within a book. And I grew up reading Goosebumps, those choose your own adventure ones. Like now this is what gets created through the community building. I just find this stuff is so interesting to me. Frankie, you mentioned it, the metaverse. I mean, that's going to be massive. The idea that I can throw on a headset and be whatever I want to be, wherever I want to be. That is crazy. And like, there's identity problems in the real world. So now you get to literally have whatever identity you want in the digital world. I think marketing is a massive thing. When Visa bought a CryptoPunk for 50 ETH, did all the marketing they needed to, got in with the community. They're still sitting on that CryptoPunk, and CryptoPunks are at 100 ETH. You realize that, like, you got to do all the marketing you wanted to do, and you have an asset on your balance sheet, which you could then sell off at some point and go market to another community now. Whereas, like, the marketing world has typically been a black hole of, I'm just paying somebody to say, I'm going to get you a certain amount of views.
Whoa. Okay. That right there, I did not piece together until you just told me that. It's like, imagine that Visa or different companies want to market, they throw a lot of money at advertising. And they could say, well, if we're going to throw away this money, why don't we just chuck it into NFT, get a lot of publicity that has huge marketing. And the best part is it's still not wasted money because they can always resell it if they want to. So it would, that just, okay.
And by them doing it, they're bringing value. So it's the idea of like almost like a celebrity buying into some shit, like a shit coin. It's like, when a company like a Nike all of a sudden partners with some NFT project, like I'm sure they'll buy a bunch and whatnot to market to the community. But then, now because they partnered, like they know the value that they're bringing. So now the asset goes up and crazy because they're in it. Like it's such a game.
Is it almost as if there's a big community, right? And these big companies are saying, how do we access these communities? Typically it's through ads. You're looking on YouTube, you see ads come on, or when you're on Facebook, you see it. But now is this like the next layer where they say, guys, we can just like cut straight to the chase.
You got to buy into
me. Their community.
Yeah. You got to buy into me. If you want to market to me, you can't just shove shit in my face anymore. You need to bring me a benefit.
Right. You need to pump my bag.
And that's by buying into my
join my community.
Yeah, 100%. That I think that is genuinely where we're going.
Yeah. That's a shift. But we're not like, I feel like since we're not really at mass adoption yet, it's still really just marketing moves from Visa. It's a speculative move because they know what a hard asset is. No, they're Visa, right? They're in the fiat industry, so they probably know all about inflation, all about like owning hard stuff.
But there's an aspect to this, like, so think just when I think about the Oscars that just happened, are the Oscars? I mean, they did what 1.5 million on the night of. I mean, everybody's watched the Oscars since that night. But then Grammys, like a couple nights later, does 800,000 live viewers. Hollywood is falling apart. Do you not think that like there's going to be massive attempts at them getting into this industry huge to market again because they're just not getting the viewers through the traditional means? Nobody's watching TV anymore. The idea of these commercials and stuff, like unless you're putting up commercials on the Super Bowl, commercials aren't doing it for you anymore. That's just not it. People are finding their means other ways. So you have these companies, like I watch podcasts all the time, and you realize what companies are just genius marketing because they've plugged into all these podcasts, recognizing that so-and-so does 1 million downloads every single episode he does, and he does 3 a week. That's way better than me putting up a commercial on the Oscars.
And to add on to that is I'm thinking how many companies are going to be brand new that have different advertising styles. How many marketing agencies will say, you know what, there's something here with the NFTs, or there's a certain way on how to direct ads in a different way, how to do that. That is not the typical sense, because you're right. People aren't watching the TV anymore. I'm just going to speculate. I think the fact that the slap actually did happen, a lot of the people from the Oscars were like, "Thank you," like they didn't want to come out and say they're like, "Oh, this is deplorable," but based on the ratings, they're like,
We needed that. Yeah.
"We needed that. Thank you for taking one for the team." You know what I'm saying? So,
Thank you,
I,
Will.
yeah, thank you, Will.
Really.
Thank you, Chris. So
Well,
I
thank you,
think
Chris, too.
that's what happens, but I foresee a lot of different companies coming out that specialize in how do we do this new age of advertising. Because when Facebook, Instagram came out, people were like, nobody's gonna pay for ads on Facebook. What are you crazy? Psh, get out of here. And then look at how many companies are saying, yeah, you gotta do that. And it's just how it is.
I will never forget having a roundtable with FTM Alerts. The gentleman, Sebastian from BitGems, he brought up the concept. This was long ago. He brought up the concept of like what he envisions the advertising world becoming is where I choose to put on VR headset and enter advertising world. And I get paid for the time that I'm in advertising world. It might not be a lot, but I'm getting some sort of payment from entering advertising world. When you get into this idea, when you throw ads in front of my face, I try to skip it any way I can. If I'm choosing to enter advertising world, and with VR now, all of a sudden, like physics don't matter, nothing matters. Like you could have a Coca-Cola dragon fighting the Pepsi warriors, and like I want to watch that. I'm opting into the advertising, and now how long am I going to hang around advertising world now? I might spend 4 to 6 hours hanging around advertising world, just totally immersed in it.
When you
Rather,
say advertising world, do you mean like a place that's a little bit more interactive and a little
yeah,
bit more entertaining, similar to a Decentraland, but there's actually things to watch and to do and how to interact as opposed
yes.
to just blindly watching? Like,
So this is essentially to me going to be like meta, the metaverse that Meta builds, like where it's something so big that everybody's going to be partnered in. It's going to be all the corporations are going to have their little spots in it, like almost like a sandbox. Like Sandbox, whenever that releases, that will be there's going to be a lot going on in that game,
mm-hmm.
because you have all these corporations that own land. I know Snoop Dogg has a massive plot and a concert venue and all this stuff. Like to me, I think this gets really interesting. Where yeah, all of a sudden instead of advertising being the amount of money gets spent on advertising to just get skipped on YouTube or on the radio station or on TV, whatever. Now you can just pay me a little bit of money, a fraction of what you would have paid to shove the shit in my face. Just pay me directly, and now I'll immerse myself in this world for hours.
So is that the same concept, but just even more amplified? You said with Visa getting into the Bored Ape Yacht Club, they had to go directly to the community. Yes, like we love you, great marketing, but pump my bags. You got to invest in me. Is that similar in that aspect with the metaverse? It's like, all right, give me a little bit of the profits and I will help you. I will be more receptive as well, as opposed to shoving in your face is more of a, okay, let's work together here. And then I'm going to be more receptive.
Yeah.
I think he was speaking more of the meta version of the metaverse, which is going to be that virtual handshake between users and companies. Like, yeah, it's okay for you to advertise to me when I join in, but in return, I'm gonna get paid this tiny dividend. Like I'm the product once I connect onto this advertised virtual world. But at the same time, we want to shift the narrative in the sense that the product should be able to get some of the divs back. If that, I think that's what I collected from what you explained.
Both of you guys are spot on. That is exactly it. It is. I do think people are recognizing that when I use something for free, I'm the product. My data is being sold and all this stuff. So I think you either enter the idea. I think where this goes is you either enter a space where everybody pays for everything to enter everything, so you're not berated with advertising, or no, you pay me to enter advertising world. I will willingly watch Coca-Cola and Pepsi stuff if I'm know that my time is being paid for.
And that's what's happening with the Brave browser, right? And the
Yes,
BAT token. So it's just more of a amplified version. What about in, let's say,
Exactly. Yeah.
Decentraland
DEGEN.
Sandbox? There's a hub, a piece of land that somebody has, and it whatever's going on there is super entertaining. People want to do that. Maybe it's like the Hard Rock Cafe, or I don't know, some sort of history. NFL has its own, like, dude, you could virtually go in there and see, oh my gosh, that's where Jerry Rice is, or whoever is your favorite player, and go there. And in the meantime, they say, oh, we'll give advertising space in NFTs. And if you interact with it, then you get paid. So
Yep.
then I think that would be a shift from, let's say, advertising world to more, this is a hot spot in the meta.
Right.
All right, pay us to
Yeah.
advertise for you to have your own spot.
Yeah, you're spot on. There is going to be this. It's just going to be an adjustment in people's mindset of like, no, you don't get to just throw this stuff in front of my face anymore. Like, and I also think there's a business mindset to it. The amount of money that people spend to market, knowing that everybody's just trying to skip the advertisement, where it's like, I could literally just spend a fraction of that, like almost pay you directly and market to you directly. And then all of a sudden, like, I really like the idea of TV shows. So again, going back to the Hollywood thing, uh, if I'm having a hard time getting people to watch my stuff, it takes a lot to create a TV show or a movie. Like, you have to create new characters and a new storyline and all this stuff. Well, the communities right now are already doing that. Communities are creating the art, they're creating these storylines. If I'm a TV studio, I can literally just partner up with them, tap into that. There's my fan base. I already know I'm gonna have a guaranteed fan base. I partner up, I tap into that, and now guess what? Those 10,000 people, if I give them a bit of a royalty from the TV show, I just have a wicked ground marketing crew now. I just created a little workforce that is going to be telling all of their friends and family, "Hey, watch this TV show. My character's in it. Watch this." Like, it literally it changes the whole thing.
Yeah, I
Dude,
feel like
and that oh, go ahead, Frankie, and then I wanna chip in with one
I
thing.
feel like Hollywood and producers and screenwriters, etc., they still have too much ego, and they need to be able to drop it a little bit. And like I know a few creators that work in Hollywood and stuff, and I don't think they're the type of people who want to go and outsource the lore or their universe yet, right?
Until
Um,
somebody does it and makes a ton of money. That's all I'm saying.
until yeah,
That is literally what
Game
it comes down to.
theory.
It's the same with like the music. Like, we're buying JPEGs right now because CryptoPunks went crazy. The moment an album comes out and all of a sudden people have bought an album and that price has went 100x, we're all going to be buying music NFTs. Photography is coming in. As soon as somebody has a success story on that, we'll all be buying photography NFTs. Like, it just takes that one little success story. And it's, I mean, I look at the Phantom blockchain. Umans, like the success story of Umans, like the idea of bit Umans being traded in the Discord for thousands of Phantom long ago inspired PaintSwap to go, all right, we're not going to be a DEX anymore. We're going to be a NFT marketplace. And then now there's an NFT marketplace. Now all these other artists are like, oh, wait, there's somebody actually killing it on another chain. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I don't need to release on Ethereum. So now every other layer one, it has artists that are launching their projects. And again, I think now we're reaching the next step where you'll have these blue chips that do crazy numbers on these layer ones, and all of a sudden you'll have a bunch of these Ethereum collectors start going, "Oh shit, there's an opportunity over there."
Yeah,
hell
and
yeah.
I know
So go
that
ahead.
there's certain times where I say, I don't know if I really like this, but I can't afford. I would hate if all of a sudden this NFT is number one and I missed out. So maybe I'll chip in a little there. I get a little access to the community. Boom, done, and just kind of like walk away. But yeah, if something like really takes off, that is, whew,
Yeah,
that's all it's needed.
yeah. I think for again, when the metaverses start getting built, like for me, the hardest thing is like to sell somebody on an NFT right now is like, I don't have cool ways to display it yet. But the moment there is cool ways to display this, whether it's, I've seen a video the other day where some guy had like a screen, it was like a TV screen, and he was spinning it, and the NFT was in the screen, and it gave it like a different visual because the screen was spinning. I've seen a dude build a table where he put a digital screen essentially in the layer of the coffee table, and it was displaying his NFTs. Like once we have cool ways to display stuff, metaverse galleries and whatnot, like that's when you'll start getting normies to recognize that, like, oh shit, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, when it will be integrated into your Apple Watch, because Apple will have bought $2 billion of ETH, so now they have skin in the game. Now they have incentive into developing onto the blockchain. Like we're not there yet. We're still early, guys.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like, yeah,
But it's that GameFi aspect, because I think, Frankie, you were mentioning that it's like, well, it hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
But at the same time, it was with the Hollywood example, right? But once there, as Tinfoil was saying, once there's that one success story, because it's an empty space, but once somebody's able to cross that bridge and be the first, woo, they're already well positioned. So similar to the Facebook ads, right? It was an empty space, but I'm sure certain people became top dogs. What I'm very curious to see now, after just our discussion right here, is the different companies that are going to arrive in order to like implement these new strategies. I'm sure there's going to be people like psychologists saying, what is the best practice in order to connect with the NFT community? What is the best practice to advertise in these metaverses? Because, like, for example, there's a whole art to YouTube thumbnails, right?
Yep.
Ideally should be the content, or you say this is how it is, but you'll notice that sometimes a higher click rate is the more exaggerated. There's a science behind it. Simple put, that's how it is. I'm curious to see how these companies will evolve, where how they study us in these different spaces and how to connect and do a better job of networking and advertising. So I think that's really interesting for me.
Well, and this is a great point because there is even more data available in this space, right? Like when you think of consumer data and whatnot, there's even more data available in this space. And you could argue that human data is the most valuable thing on the planet. And it's funny because that's always like the argument. Whenever you're talking to somebody about this crypto stuff that is like, I can't see it, I can't touch it. What happens when the grid goes down? Like, it's funny because my argument back to the whole grid thing, I mean, at that point, when the grid goes down, it just matters how much guns and ammo you have at that point. But for me, it's like the money would never want that to go away. They would never want the grid to go down because if you don't have the grid, you don't have the data. And again, if you don't have what you can do with the world's human data is unbelievable, obviously. So to me, it just, it's a shitty argument that like, oh, what if the grid goes down? Because it would be like them just all of a sudden, not wanting oil. And like, it's like, when does that make sense?
It's a cash cow. Why turn off the funds?
Yeah, exactly. They need the people's data. They want to know what society is doing. They want to know what people are thinking, buying. That's important information. So that there's no reason to want to turn that off.
definitely.
I don't see the technology and everything just being like a linear scale up. And people speculate, like they're like, oh my gosh, we know it's coming, so we're getting up here. And then they're impatient and then they get wrecked.
Yep.
But the technology is still coming. So as you said, with the coffee table, it was there. What would be cool is if, let's say there's a picture frame, a big one, that 4x4, and the company says, yes, we verify through Bluetooth or whatever that this is your NFT. And if you don't have that, you can't verify it, it won't display. So then also has that authenticity saying, no, I know that one is real. That cyberpunk that you got going, or your crypto punk that you got in that frame, I know it's legit because it came from a company that verified it. And that's what Twitter is doing right now, right? You just can't, or they want to make it so that you have to verify your NFT if you're going to be displaying it. So even in that sense right there, I think that would be something to really look forward to.
Well, and so we have a project on Phantom called Autocolor Technica. It's a physical art gallery down in Arkansas. Now, the gentleman's name is Mark Velocero, I believe. He has been a physical traditional gallery artist for decades. They launched their first NFT project, and it's really cool. There's a physical aspect, and then taking a picture, making digital manipulations to that, and that is what you're minting. Now they've come into the Discord and done AMAs with us and stuff, and like we always throw around the idea of like, you have a gallery space. The potential is endless. Like, you not only do physical work that I get a 10-minute tour through your gallery in this reality, and I walk back out the door, and then I literally turn right back around. This time I put on a headset and you walk me through your physical gallery. But guess what? I'm in a whole new reality now. But you still are using that same physical space. The potential for this is endless. Like, I love it.
Agreed, man. But I'm gonna switch gears right here because Frankie, you've gotten into the NFT space, right? And you're starting to build up, etc. Can you guide me through, let's say, the different things that are required, right? Because I'm sure you guys are very familiar with maybe actually creating the NFTs. What's the process? What's needed? Is it as simple as, like, let's say I go on Photoshop or Paint and I draw a few pixels and I go to Paint Swap and I upload a JPEG and I say, there you go. Because I thought about this, Professor Crypto Banana. What if I may do this? Maybe I'm thinking about it. There's a lot of
There are a few more steps, but I mean, it's all out there on YouTube, easy to find. How to deploy an NFT collection. What I'm trying to do is a generative collection. So there's the whole algorithm that randomly shuffles all these layers to create the unique pieces. But if you want to start and create your own collection, a bunch of tutorials. Hashlips is a great one for the generative. If it's just like one-on-ones, the unique pieces that you're listing over time, then you need to know how to deploy a smart contract pretty much. And then the rest is the listings on marketplaces. Like TinFoil knows probably a lot more than me about it.
Yeah, so the good thing is that it's been kind of difficult. So there are some legends in the community. I have to shout out, his name's MP60 from Strange Brew. He was instrumental in developing almost all of the early NFT Phantom projects, and he would just teach all the artists on like how to deploy your contract. He put together a great guide on how to deploy your own contract. Now PaintSwap, they've done an update where like essentially you can mint to your own collection. Like they create a contract for you and you can mint right there. That's a great way to do it. We have what's called NFT launch pads now, which are essentially all the development side of things. So you use this website and you basically import the art and what you kind of need, your pricing structure, all this stuff, and it kind of does the rest. Now, there's some really interesting aspects to, like, and the conversation happens a lot of, this is where everybody kind of finds their roles in a space. Like you and I talking about projects and reaching out and trying to find the alpha and stuff. Community management is massive for NFT projects. So like an artist creating art, like there's so many artists creating art now, and there's only going to be more coming into the space. So how do you differentiate yourself from them? Is it by having community members that are constantly creating new things? Maybe it's memes. Like there's so many other aspects to an NFT project other than just the art that can kind of make or break the success. At the same time, there's going to be artists that might drop one piece a month, and the art is just so good that like over time they are a Picasso kind of name, But I think when I listen to guys like Gary V and those kind of investors, like Gary V even like says like, if you're too artist, like I'm actually not going to invest. Like I'll buy a piece, but I'm not going to invest in you because I want to see artist entrepreneur, because this is a business. This is about building a brand. And I think that is a very interesting takeaway to come from when you're thinking about mass money coming in.
Yeah, you got to be versatile, essentially, right? Because you could be a great artist, but if you don't network with the community, from what I'm gathering, you're going to get lost in terms of when you're scrolling on that marketplace collections and other stuff. It's
Exactly.
You got it's what have you done?
You got to
for
be
me
community
lately?
smart. You got to be people smart, right? It's about catching people's attention. Someone that's really, really gifted for it is Teens on Acid. Limit Break and Sept are really good at that too because they're graphic designers. They're visual artists by definition, so they know how to catch your eye, and that's really a skill. Um, Sometimes you just have to recognize that, like someone like Elle, she's a great artist. She makes her own memes. She pixelates them. It's really funny,
Yeah.
and she's a good dev too, so she can make everything herself, and there's a
I'm
tremendous
glad you
value into it.
I'm glad you brought her up because like she's somebody that hasn't done it the traditional way of every other NFT project where it's like I need a Discord. Like on Ethereum, most of these projects now like they build a Discord and they pump 50,000 people into it before they even like launch mint details. Whereas like she does not even have a Discord. You will literally only find her on Twitter, and her whole community is just built on Twitter, and it's insane. One of the best communities on Phantom.
I like that though. I like the taking it from a different aspect. Just not like you have to do this cookie cutter way because there could always be a better way.
100%.
But I just want to tell the audience, I'm talking to you guys now, not necessarily TinFoil or Frankie. This is my observation. You notice how these guys are able to say like, "Oh, hey, you know that person? Oh, yeah. I like that stuff. This just shows at how like connected these people and these artists are. That they're able to just drop down names to me. I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. But it's interesting because this is how the network and the community grows. And that's why I wanted to do the interview with Frankie and TinFoil to be like, okay, how does this work? Give me a little bit more insight. How are these artists and these communities networking? Because on the DeFi side, I'm like, ooh, high yields. Oh, I see somebody else that's a big whale on the blockchain doing that too. Okay, maybe that has some merit. But this is just a whole different area when it comes to networking and making the moves and who to support and how to be entrepreneurial.
How to recognize the how big the community is going to grow is the hardest part in NFT. Like because recognizing beautiful art is the easy part, in my opinion. Like art, it's just like you connect with it or you don't. You can't really control it. Um, Sometimes you see the price going up and your view changes on the art itself, and you're like looking at it in a different view, and that's just the human psyche and human psychology. But recognizing talent in community building that's not measured in just numbers is the hardest part. And I don't have a real answer for it. You just gotta have a feel for it and spend time um, on Twitter, see where the is that big collective mind that dictates the floors on NFT projects. It's really weird, and there's constantly new projects coming in. Some projects are holding their value. Some other projects are getting diluted from these new projects. So it's hard. It's really hard to tell. Tinfoil has a lot more experience and more data just burned into his brain when it comes to it, but I don't know.
Yeah, so we've had like that's been a big thing for me, and with Potluck is we're very analytical in doing research on the blockchain. How many holders do we have across projects? This and that, and there was some really interesting research points that came up more recently through some deals. So we have a partnership with Official NFTs, which is they create actual official NFT T-shirts that are tied to the blockchain, always in collaboration with one of our big Phantom NFT artists. They're trailblazing. Anyways, we just did it. They got a mint going on right now where you have to mint the NFT of the t-shirt and you have to have that NFT to be able to get the physical t-shirt. So they partnered with 10 different projects across the ecosystem. There's over 400 projects across the ecosystem. They partnered with 10. And we found out that through whitelisting all the wallets, the unique wallets across these 10 projects, there were over 7,500 unique wallets, which was a really interesting research point for us because previously to this point, we had thought there was only about 1,000 to 2,500 like NFT buyers as a whole on Phantom. And it turns out through like we're looking at potentially I'm estimating around 10 to 15,000 unique wallets that hold at least one NFT in the ecosystem. Now, when you think about numbers, how many users do we have on Phantom? Like, it's like we're at over 2 million now, I think. Like the numbers of users in DeFi versus numbers of buyers of NFTs yet, like that ratio is insane. So I kind of think of it as like, phantom price to market cap ratio. That there's or total value locked to market cap ratio.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
That's how I look
That's
at, like,
another ratio. And
that's literally how I look at NFT buyers to, like, total potential buyers ratio.
Gotcha. You see like a lot of money on Phantom and a lot of new users, new people. So you're like new users, new money. Is the money still staying on the Phantom? Therefore, by default, that's only going to be a positive when it comes to the NFTs and the communities here.
Exactly. Especially when you have projects like Byte Masons come out and go, hey, you're going to get a discount only by holding NFTs.
Dude, and I gotta reiterate and say how cool that was that Byte Masons, they said we want a token, we want to support the community. And then they made the observation that whales typically don't, like, if they're new to the chain just trying to make a profit and leave, they're not going to touch the NFTs. So the fact that's why they gave out that discount, that was just like
Genius.
that was yeah.
Beavis is a fucking dev god. Like,
genius and heartbreaking at the same time if your favorite NFT didn't get picked in the list. But that's the game, and it created a set of rules for us to play, and that's when crypto becomes fun. And there's game theory involved, I feel.
well, I can't wait till this stuff starts going multi-chain. When the bridges are only getting easier. There's so much liquidity on the bridges now. It's only getting easier and easier to bridge back and forth. And now you're gonna have an NFT bridge that comes into play. So now you're literally gonna have arbitrage opportunities within, like, I'm gonna go over to AVAX, scoop up the floor on AVAX, bring it back to Phantom, and list it on Phantom. Or, like, it starts to get crazy.
Yeah, I did that with the TOAs, right?
Yeah.
Teens on Acid
Yeah.
launched on Phantom, then AVAX, then Polygon, right?
Yeah.
And the floor was so low on Polygon, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go scoop one up, and I'm gonna leave it there, until the bridge comes out. And right now, I don't really care what my NFTs are; they're just attached to my address.
Yep.
I don't, I'm not vain in the sense that it all needs to be shown on PaintSwap. I'm a multi-chain NFT collector. It is what it is. Can't control it.
No, love it.
All right, guys. Well, this has been a great conversation, and I thought that I'd cover certain points, and we ended up going a whole different area. And now I want to talk even more, but I think we're going to wrap it up here because maybe we'll do another portion sometime later. I think that'd be really cool. But I want to leave the audience with some conclusions, some summary, some final thoughts. So I'm going to give it to you, TinFoil, then Frankie, and then we can dip on out of here.
Yeah, so I love the way you kind of summed up my rant earlier. When it comes to NFTs, the value prop is literally like you can either, like, you're storing wealth in art or as an asset, you're storing wealth in a community, or it's just art that you just level with. There's literally, like, I'll never forget the amount of time, you see it with this Uman behind me, the amount of time that I spent going through that collection. Because there wasn't a rarity guide, and you're just noticing little patterns and like, oh, I haven't seen that attribute very often. Hours in just leveling with these things, and it really brings this new connection to the artwork. To me, when I think about my journey, I'm a tradesman. I was a stonemason carpenter, literally just over 2 years ago. Now I'm in this space full time, and my journey into this space, like the way I got hooked into NFTs. I personally see that as like how the masses come into crypto. As much as I love number go up, numbers on the screen get a little bit boring to me. The idea of art behind it is just, to me, that's what's going to bring in the masses.
Yeah, exactly. And me, I'm coming from a trader's perspective. Same thing. Numbers make you feel good until a certain level. And I feel like society, like the global society as a whole, is yearning for more connectivity, and NFT projects give you that. We spend more and more time working from home, staying on our own physically, if we don't have like a family in the direct vicinity. But yeah, these NFT projects bring us this group of people that we don't know, and we can share a lot with it still. And there's a lot of value to that. And yeah, FTM market cap to TVL is so low, meaning a lot of people are on chain and the token is still cheap. And then you have that ratio you brought up, TinFoil, which is NFT holders versus TVL, which is even smaller. And we're just early, and I don't mind buying talented artists and waiting to see them grow and them bringing me more value in return.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, we're early. That was a great talk. Thanks for having me on, Prof. I love all the exposure you give to the space, you give me, and the value you bring us to. You help bring a lot of people in the space, and thank you for that. You're
Yeah,
one
we
of the
appreciate this
OGs.
I appreciate that. Thank you guys. Yeah, because in terms of community, I love the Phantom community. I like the innovation. I like what's happening here. So I'm just like, yeah, and I love to talk. So I got like talented, educated people, guys, such as yourselves, able to bring on the channel. Love it. So if you're watching and you enjoyed the content with Frankie TinFoil, you want to see more of this? Give me a like and subscribe, baby. There we go. But
it's
likewise,
TinFoil's birthday today. Wish happy birthday, TinFoil, in the comments, guys.
Absolutely. And tell the audience how people can follow you guys. TinFoil, Wild.
Yeah, so I'm at, I've been banned off Twitter way too many times now, so I almost forget my Twitter name. I believe it's at TinFoilFTM. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. Actually, I do AMAs, and it's on Spotify. If you go on Spotify, I believe it's called NFT Talk with TinFoilRealist. You can find the podcast on Spotify, and those are just in-depth interviews with each and every project on Phantom. So if you want to get the alpha on individual projects, go check it out.
Yeah, and I'm OXWild on Twitter, just like on the screen. And yeah, I'm working on that NFT project on Phantom called Mummy Punks. I was one of the episodes on TinFoil podcast, so that's a great segue, and that was a great interview too. TinFoil, go to the host.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, guys. All right, and we'll see you in the next video. Pieces.